understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
It's also equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am.
If you no talk, they go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
This Medan has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
When I start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
It's also equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am.
If you no talk, they go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you don't talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
On breakfast this morning, Senate to consider the amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 to safeguard against the weakness identified in the law.
Also on the breakfast, President Buhari meets APC senators who threatened to dump the party over outcome of primaries in their state ahead of the 2023 general elections.
And don't forget, we also have headlines from today's national dailies. We'll be analyzing the biggest stories of the day on Off the Press. Very good morning to you. We're back with breakfast right here on PlusTvAfrica. It's a very, very cold morning and wet morning, but we're here set to do justice to all the wonderful topics we have lined up. A fantastic retinue of content for you right here on the breakfast. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Mercy Bokos. Beautiful morning. Thanks for joining us.
All right, as usual, we'll start with our trending segment. Yesterday, we had some interesting stories, and for those of you who've been watching the social space, what we do is we bring you some of those juicy happenings that are trending, or juicy occurrences trending on social space. And today it's no different. Yesterday, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mercy, hosted a space. I didn't have time to listen in on the space, but what happened was I followed the conversation. I was reading what people were saying. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission saying landlords who give houses to Yahoo boys risk jail terms. If your house, if a Yahoo boy is arrested and they find out that he stays, or a group of Yahoo boys stay in your house, you stand the risk of being imprisoned. It's quite interesting. Yahoo, for those who don't know, is internet fraud, and that is a slang we're giving it in this part of the world. They're not just talking about any imprisonment of 1 year, 2 years. They're talking about 15 years in prison, 15 solid years. All right, and the agency, of course, said that on Twitter. Said it's a new policy. Of course, they call the forum EFCC Connect. They announced it, they advertised it. In fact, I saw the tweet advertising it. It was in sort of like pidgin English, and it was quite interesting. I don't know, just try to be a bit soft and appeal to the young people so they could listen in. According to the commission, its Deputy Director Legal and Prosecution, Sylvanus Tahir, and the Assistant Director Legal and Prosecution, Cosman Ugu, who are said to be leading that awareness discussion. So it was quite interesting, and the reaction of Nigerians was funny. But leaving the space, for those who commented online, some of the things they said was aware that the announcement is already, they're saying, how would a landlord know a Yahoo boy? If a Yahoo boy comes into the house to say, will he say, Oga, I be Yahoo boy, I did defraud people, when you give me this your house, I would say I'm going to do here. I don't know. They're asking, will the landlord be told that? So that's when the questions coming the way of the EFCC. But some people are commending the commission, interestingly, saying that the move would further make landlords think twice. And probably also the Yahoo boys to look for other ways of buying houses or renting houses, as the case may be. Some are also challenging EFCC to go after corrupt politicians. So why are you going after boys? This is, young boys trying to hustle and make a living. Why don't you go after politicians? They're the ones that you should catch. They're stealing the money of the nation, is what some people have been saying. Interesting conversations yesterday on that EFCC space.
Well, for me, I was able to join, the conversation a bit, not so early, but I mean, it was at a time where you had, summary of the entire process. And so I think a bit of what one of the Ugo, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned is that landlords should make efforts to educate themselves about the law. Someone had raised the question in the space. I think that question was very dominant as to how can people now identify who is, a Yahoo boy and all of that. And one of the, answer or solution to that was that landlords should make efforts in educating themselves, as long as you would say that ignorance is not an excuse. That's what it was. But also looking at the comments generating reactions, like you said, Nigerians have been commenting and a lot of persons have been commenting. One of it is that some persons started saying that, Nigeria is, top #1 on the list of fraudulent activities or scammers, internet scammers, if you want to say, which is also tagged as Yahoo for Nigeria. But there was an article that I stumbled on, and of course I had to, read that particular article. It's about the top 10 countries on the list of internet activities. You want to call them fraudsters, or those who are scamming people, as it is. One on the list is not even Nigeria, but not to make an excuse for all of that. Pakistan is one of them. Brazil, you also have on the list South Africa, Romania, Venezuela, Indonesia. Nigeria is 7 on that list, and you also have India as well. So people are saying, hey, Nigeria is 1 on the list. But if you look at the entire goal, is that EFCC is bent on saying, hey, we need to put an end to this menace. The issue of having people defrauding people, which is not a good thing. I mean, no matter how you want to measure it against the law and also with a moral compass, it's not a good thing. But we need to also understand that the majority of persons who engage in defrauding others, the issue of, or the business of defrauding others, are people really from countries that are experiencing economic difficulties and short of money. And so usually you find out that it's easy for people when they don't have money, they begin to turn to other illicit ways of making money. The question will be, having, the landlord saying, hey, we're not going to rent our apartment to Yahoo boys, does that solve the problem? Because it feels like that's the goal. The goal would be, let's take out all of these illegalities in our system, in our country. But does that solve the problem? When you tell, and like you have rightly mentioned about a question that was asked, how can people identify who a Yahoo boy is, or someone who's Yahoo? Now, another issue that was also raised is the issue of remote jobs. So, because I also, in the space, in the conversation, I really can identify who was speaking. But another issue was that, if you stay at home, you're just working at home, you don't go out from morning till night, you're not stepping out of your house, then it can actually just pass for you being engaging in fraudulent activities. Now, another thing Nigerians talked about is that you have a lot of persons who are, into remote jobs. I mean, these days, the world is a global village. You can actually be in Nigeria and you're working for a company in the United States, in China, in other parts of the world. So I'm hoping, as much as the goal is to, end this menace, it's also important that we look at the approach that we're adopting.
I mean, we keep hearing Yahoo boys, but it's not just boys who are into this thing, So I'm sure the economic Financial Crimes Commission is aware of that. And landlords should also be aware that it crosses across. I mean, I know it's just a thing that we say, and maybe started out as that. Mercy, I've seen some ladies who are, you would never tell. In fact, some boys where I know, they learn work, you know, and I think it's just to show that people are skilled at, you know, from all sexes. So the landlords are being warned. Don't give your houses out to Yahoo boys or Yahoo girls. Shall we say gender balance now?
No, that's actually fair.
Just
I mean, of course.
Lucky, you see.
Landlords,
be careful.
So you know that it's actually a phrase and a cliche, especially when you talk about armed robbers, armed men, and all of that.
It started out like that, you know.
Yes, it's not necessarily limited to all of that. But we need to move away.
Just so the landlords know, you know, so that they don't go to jail for 15 years.
Well, we're being prompted to move away. That's because we're out of time. We'll definitely bring you a top trending conversation tomorrow. In the meantime, let's take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at the front pages of the national dailies. Please stay with us.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Events, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. By no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid. How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Welcome back to The Breakfast in Plus TV Africa. Let's take you through the pages of our national dailies as we have Ezekiel Nyaituk, who is on standby to join the conversation via Zoom. I start off with the Nation newspaper this morning. On the Nation newspaper, ahead 2023 presidential poll, Fayose or Tom rattle PDP. That's the bold caption. And underneath, Ekiti ex-government insists power must shift. Benue governors fault Atiku on Wike and poor attendance at Osun campaign council initiation. Why importers are abandoning Nigeria's port by operators. These are some of the headlines on the Nation newspaper this morning.
Move straight to the Daily Independent with these headlines. The big one there, crisis in the PDP as governors take back seat in party's activities. Crisis in PDP as governor take back seat in party's activities. 11 boycott inauguration of Osun campaign cancel. Okoa Damagun Baturi urge common front to capture Osun. I'm still national chairman of PDP, says Chair Ayu. More from the paper. Running mate why Tinubu rejected Lawan, Yaya Bello. Running mate why Tinubu rejected Lawan, Yaya Bello. Seems that the running mate debate is not just going on in the PDP but also at the APC. Senate to send delegation to visit Ekweremadu wife in London. Senate to send delegation to visit Ekweremadu wife in London. Despite COVID-19, NSAS insurers post over 800 billion naira gross premium. Quite interesting. Despite COVID-19, and NSAS insurers post over 800 billion naira gross premium. Insecurity, army to engage services of retired personnel. It's an interesting read right there in the Daily Independent. Insecurity, army to engage services of retired personnel. Some of the headlines on front page of the Daily Independent.
We'll move away from the Daily Independent newspaper. Let's look at this day newspaper. Ottoman decided about support for Atiku once Wike placated. And federal government blames terrorists for perennial nationwide power outage. Interesting. Nigeria's security problem requires political solution. Araboy says with citizens working alongside state agencies, 2023 elections will be peaceful. CBN sets January 2023 deadline for financial institutions to tighten nose on cyber crimes. And R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years in prison for sex trafficking and charges. Underneath, you have 6 meeting between PDP candidate, Rivers Governor. Real reason Wike lost out on vice president nomination. Fayose explained why Wike wouldn't support former vice president's ambition. The headlines this morning on this day newspaper.
All right, and finally, we look at the details coming on the front page of the Punch newspaper, the headlines rather. The big one there, running mate, Wike Okoa's camps clash. as Otom Fayoshe threatened Atiku's bid. Of course, both gentlemen, the governor of Benue State and the former governor of Ekiti State, giving media interviews and saying a lot. We'll look at that as we go on. Picking Okowa undemocratic, only God can tell me to support Atiku or Tom. Atiku should reach out to Wike, Rivers PDP. No going back on Okowa, says aid. And Fayoshe demands Southern presidency, says PDP constitution backs power rotation. Interesting ones. Let's quickly now bring in our guest, Ezekiel Nyaituk, who's a public affairs analyst. He joins us live via Zoom this morning. Mr. Nyaituk, Architect Nyaituk, thank you so much for your time, and it's good to have you back. We start with what's happening in the People's Democratic Party, and aptly captured by the Punch newspaper this morning. Please give us your thoughts. I'm sure you may have seen one or two snippets of what Otom had to say, and also read a bit of what Fayoshe is saying. Wike has been vacationing in Turkey and has not wasted time to share the pictures of himself and Okeze Ekbazu having a good time there. Do you think that the PDP has cast itself into this position, and we're going to be seeing the other governors, moving ship, or their support at least for the APC or Peter Obi?
Me, I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear. We can hear you very clearly. Please go on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think that when we start to do this analysis of the PDP and APC, we look at it from two different perspectives. One is intellectual analysis, and the other is nationalistic interest. But let's start from the intellectual analysis and think in terms of what... can you still hear me?
Yeah, for loud and clear, please go on. We can.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Ezekiel Nyaituk. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Nyaituk, we can hear you. If you can hear us, please go on.
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you. We need to, like I said, two perspectives. One is intellectual, the other one is nationalistic. Let's take the intellectual first. If you understand party politics, you know that there's a very wide gap between politics and governance. So, former Vice President Atiku, in thinking of who to have as a running mate, is concerned in terms of politics, winning election. He sees Mr. Wike as having a lot of capacity, potentials, capability, and all that. That's on one hand. Then he looks at governance, and he is concerned, after winning election, will I be able to have this man who is very, very opinionated, who is very, very on the front? Can he play the second fiddle, being a spare tire that will the administration run smoothly on? And he's really concerned about that. So he's torn between the two. And when you do what you call the lines of least resistance, you discover that he is probably saying, if I win election and I have a terrible administration and this is the last lap that I have, then I'm going to be a terrible, president. So he is taking the risk of saying, let me take the other way of somebody who is going to be able to sit down and work for me and be very content being quiet and on on the working side. So he pitched his tent with my Oga Okowa. I call him my Oga because he's somebody I've worked for severally, and I have a very good relationship with him. But on the other hand, the people who have worked for the PDP with the PDP, who see reward as the essence of politics, are vivid. They are angry. They are saying this man has been PDP personified. At the stage, we didn't know where the chairman of PDP was, but we knew Mr. Wike. So that he's being unfair to treat him that way. The least he could do was to reward him with the vice presidential seat. And it also to do with our political system, where we see governance as a reward platform rather than a platform where you have to work for the people and ensure that the essence of democracy is animated, is actualized. through the performance in office. This is the conflict that we have, and Nigerians need to know it's on all fronts. It's just that the PDP version is coming at a very high level. We are rewarding engineers who work very hard to fix the aircraft with the job of piloting. And that's why our aircraft are shutting down. The aircraft called Nigeria is shutting down, and we've become the poverty capital of the world. I think the time has come when we have to, I mean, I will give Mr. Atiku the credit this time, but he also has to be the politician who reaches out. He should have spent so much of his time, his energy, his resources, all he has in placating, Mr. Wike, whom the whole nation has sentiment behind, because he really worked to stabilize PDP. He did. But let Nigerians, they should be able to come out and let Nigerians know why he went for Mr. Okowa rather than Mr. Atiku Wike.
All right. Ezekiel, let's also look at this day newspaper. And this talks about the federal government blaming terrorists for the nationwide power outage. I mean, you want to talk about the consistent power outage in the country. The federal government is blaming terrorists for this. Having in mind, just as we proceed, Nigeria is very endowed with oil. You also talk about solar and hydro resources. We have the capacity to produce with the existing plant about 12,000 megawatts, 12,522 megawatts, but we're not even generating enough. I mean, we're around less than 4,000 megawatts in recent times. Do you think that this is actually true, that we're blaming terrorists, not also taking out the fact that, I mean, this terrorist exists, but is it really true that terrorists are responsible for the power outage that we have that has been consistent?
You see, the Bible says, resist the devil. The Bible says, cast the devil. The Bible says, bind the devil. The Bible knows that a thief comes not but to steal, to kill, to destroy. The Bible calls the devil the father of lies. He paints a picture of who the devil is, and he tells you what to do about it. This government is blaming the devil for their lies rather than to resist the devil, to cast the devil, to bind the devil, to use the powers he has to put the devil where it belongs, because the devil is only doing what he should do. How can you come here and be blaming terrorists for your woes? What are terrorists supposed to do? They are to terrorize you. How are they supposed to terrorize you? With every means they have. They should take your children. They should make sure you have no power. They should cripple your government. That is the work of terrorists, to terrorize you. And rather than you come out to put the terrorists where they belong, you are coming here to be blaming the terrorists for doing what they are supposed to do in the first instance. Are terrorists supposed to be working for you? No.
So are you saying that terrorists, Ezekiel Nyaituk, I mean, let me come in there. Are you saying that the terrorists are responsible for our inability to generate about 12,000 megawatts?
I am saying that it is irresponsible to put the blame on terrorists, because terrorists are doing what they should do if that is what they are doing in the first instance. But if we are to go back and do the analysis and understanding, please tell me how terrorists have stopped us from having refineries. A place like Singapore does not produce oil. They have so many refineries. 8 years we've not been able to have our refineries. Please tell me what the terrorists have done about it. Please tell me what the terrorists have done about our inability to know our production quota, how much oil we produce on a daily basis. Please tell me how terrorists have made the president to be the minister of petroleum, and yet there's no accountability at a stage. You know, the NNPC MD had to say that we are losing over 200,000 barrels per day of oil to oil theft. Please tell me how terrorists are responsible for all this. We have an irresponsible government. That is why I am very upset with the obsession of the media with these current people. I was expecting that by today, the limelight will be on the new kids on the block. Who are these people that are coming out? Some days back, we spent sleepless nights and days doing strategic analysis in ADC with Dumebi Kachiko on the solution to Nigeria's problems. What is the SDP candidate talking? What is the ADC candidate talking? What is the Labour Party candidate talking? This should be the conversation that should shape the narrative, that should move all the new kids into their closets and their think tanks to give solution to Nigeria's problem. Instead of spending the last 10 minutes talking about the vice presidential candidate of a party that we have no business talking about them at all. I think the media should start to set an agenda for Nigeria. All these people, they are spent.
Mr. Yetuk, I would rise to defense of the media. You know what they say, if you're big, you are big. Mr. Yetuk, if you're big, you're big.
Guy.
You know, I'm sure we would have the time and opportunity to talk about these guys. I mean, we cannot ignore what's happening. Sorry, sir. Just to make the point. Just to make the point. Mr. Yetuk, just to make one quick point. I mean, we cannot ignore what's happening. The papers can't ignore what's happening in the PDP. That's worth writing about. They can't ignore what's happening in the APC. That's the ruling party. That's what we're writing about.
Can they ignore what's happening in the country that will become the poverty capital of the world?
It's
in the state of the realm where they are.
So let's talk about what's happening in the country, sir. Let's talk about what's happening in the country. And we go back to the Punch newspaper with this particular headline. This is worrying for me, and I'm sure it's worrying for a lot of other people, including you. At that top left corner, you would see the picture of the Minister of Finance, and the headline, FAC, that's the Federation Allocation Accounts Committee, allocation declines by 30%. States' finances may worsen. Sometime last week or early this week, we heard that the FIRS had to come to the rescue of FAC because of the declining wars coming in from NNPC. So what it's saying is, I just give you a few sentences from there for context. Revenue allocation to federal, state, and local governments has declined from a peak of 970.57 billion naira in July 2021 to 680.783 billion naira in May 2022, representing a reduction of 30% over the period. So this is over 1 year, almost a 1 year period. Over to you, Mr. Yetuk. Almost 1 year, about 11 months, 10 months.
Thank you for that. I think that I would still go back to the fact of agenda setting. So many people want to be governors. How many of them are taking cognizance of what you've just read? The fact that the resources are depleting, they are declining, they are coming down. And when you see the amount of money they are spending on campaign to be governor, the question is, what are you bringing to the table, understanding that the resources are no longer there? That's why we need to have the intellectual discourse to move from, analysis of the situation into solution providing. That's just where I'm coming from. What is the solution that you are providing? Instead of our, analyzing the happenings in the state, a better analysis in my own is, how have you understood this? What is your salary? And how are you going to deal with this? I think that is where the media can help us. Let me use that word, help us. Because the situation is getting worse by the day, and we may not be able to pay salaries unless we have a new set of people that come with a new set of thinking and paradigm shift.
All right, let's also get back to this, the newspaper. It talks about a Senate delegation that leaves for London tomorrow for, you already know what's in the news, Ike Kurumada's, saga or situation, if you like to put, the organ trafficking. Now, the question here is this a national issue? Should we have, lawmakers leaving and a delegation, if it's like it's the sitting of Bakassi, to Cameroon?
Those guys, with all due respect, are jobless. Please just tell me what they are going to do. What are they going to do? Defense lawyer or moral support? We in a country, we do not have money to pay ASU to take our children back. I want them to give us a very honest and realistic cost of what they are going to spend and what they are going to do that they cannot do via Zoom. What is the delegation going to do? Just tell me what they are going to do and the amount of money they are going to spend. This is a country where our priorities are turned upside down. The Senate delegation should visit the universities and tell them what can be done for children to go back to school and not to take off to London. To go and do what? I just want to find out what they are going to do. Are they going to visit Ekweremadu to tell him we are with you and they can't do that through text message? They can't do that via Zoom? Or are they going to help him recruit a lawyer and that cannot be done? They must be physically there. Or are they going to give physical evidence before the court that they know this man, is that necessary? Those guys should know that we don't have money again. We don't have money again. They should stop this mentality of wasting our funds in their own private interest. When our courts, the judges are still writing with long hand, when our schools are being shut, when our pensioners are dying without being paid, all the money that we are spending and wasting, we should stop it.
All right. Back to the Punch. Very important, debate or discussion on the floor of the House of Representatives took place, which I'm sure Nigerians should keep an eye on. It's the resurfacing of the Water Resources Bill that was roundly rejected by most Nigerians the first time it was brought up. It's been presented again. It's quite a controversial bill. The headline from the Punch newspaper is "Lawmaker Kicks as Water Bill resurfaces at the House of Representatives." The chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources is Sada Soli. He says that the Attorney General of the Federation, the Minister of Justice, and the commissioners of justice from the 36 states of the Federation have been consulted and the opinions received, and that will be attached to the new bill, which he thinks will be more acceptable to Nigerians. But a member of the House of Representatives from Benue State, Mark Bila, raised the alarm, saying the bill should not have been read, saying it was controversial and he thought it was discarded. Also, the House of Representatives Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, in his response, said he also asked the chairman of the Water Resources Committee the same thing, that why is the bill being brought back again? And he was told that issues of controversy had been addressed by all the states of the Federation. So is this good to go if these issues have been addressed as far as you're concerned? Is it clear to go? Is it a no-no from you?
The issues addressed was Nigerians say, throw that thing out. We don't want it. We have more concerns. We have more important things. Nigerians rejected it. And Nigerians, you see, there's a new Nigeria that these people need to wake up to. That new Nigeria is the awareness of the younger people, and they are willing to take you on. Let these people just spend the remaining days they have in the National Assembly peacefully and leave all these controversial issues, because we Nigerians, I can say this with every sense of responsibility, have decided on this national rescue mission and to watch over everything. Nobody is going to put anything in any bill and smuggle it through the back door and hope it will fly. It's not going to fly. There are setups that we have already that are putting an eye on everything. Let them just concentrate on giving us free, fair, credible elections. That's all the National Assembly should do for us now. We don't want any new bills, all this water or no water, throw it out. Just concentrate on giving us anything and everything that will give us free, fair, credible elections in 2023. We are looking at all the candidates on the table. We are not playing party again. The hashtag person, not party, has taken a national life. And all we want is allow us to take our destiny in our hands, allow our young people to take their destiny in our hands, because I'm 58. So I really don't want to say allow us, because people like us should be thinking of how we can bequeath a better country to our children. I'm already a grandfather. What will I tell my grandchild when he's on my lap? What will I talk to them about? So let them leave all this water resources bill. distracting us at a time like this. I think it's a deliberate distraction to get us off the eyes on the ball on 2023, and then they can now do one or two things. It's a distraction, and Nigerians say no to it. Give us free, fair, credible elections. That's all we want from you, and we'll be grateful to you.
All right. Still staying with this day newspaper, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, says that Nigeria's security issues requires a political solution. How do we differentiate politics from governance? Because, I mean, governance or government, because it's government's responsibility, which is very expressly written in the Constitution about ensuring that lives are protected. So is there a difference between political solution and, you know, government's responsibility?
The man has used a small voice to say a mighty thing. That's what I'll tell you. He's just putting it nicely, political solution. What he says is political will. The army to take instruction. And until there is that animation, the body language of the chief executive of go for it, not just saying it, but he tells the guys, I will see the red of my eyes if you don't flush this people out. What he's talking about is political will, by my interpretation. I think it's just being, laconic. Not just laconic, it's being diplomatic with the choice of words, So what he needs is chief executive, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, please tell me, give me this marching order to flush these people out. The Nigerian army can do it. And I say this with every sense of responsibility. But you see, the army is trained to take instruction. And all the man is saying, please give me that marching order and watch me flush out these idiots.
All right. Let's go back to the Punch newspaper, and I have an ASU moment for today. Mrs. Glenn, I took, if you would. Minister designate plans to end ASU strike. Senate confirms nominees. Of course, you're well aware that President Buhari has had to appoint new ministers following the resignation of the last set who wanted to be president of Nigeria. And the new minister designate is saying, I'm coming on board to end ASU strike. The issues are well documented. Series of gaffes, if you want to call it that, on the part of the federal government, especially coming from the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Can this new minister designate be the savior, be the Messiah, be the Jesus Christ for the federal government as far as the strike is concerned?
Yeah, it's like giving a carpenter a blunt saw, very, very blunt saw to cut an Iroko tree. Now he has the policy, he has the will, he has the drive, he has the enthusiasm, he has everything. But there are two blunt tools he has to contend with. One blunt tool is the insincerity in the part of the federal government to bring out funding and be straight. The second blunt tool is the Minister of Labor, who is still there, who has a certain mindset that he cannot override easily. The minister means well, is well-intentioned, but going to have to meet two conditions. Number one is, can we reach an agreement with the man who was there before, not want his ego to come up and look like a guy has just come up and taken the shine off me and become the clog in the wheel of progress? Will he be nationalistic enough to take a backseat and say, what I could not do, somebody else has come and been able to do it? That is number one. Number two, is the federal government willing to free themselves from frivolous spendings like the Senate going to London to go and commiserate, I don't know what I say, with Mr. Peremadu, and release as much fund as practical to these people. The ASU, they are not exactly, irresponsible and unpatriotic. If there are three, they want to know that there's three. Not there's five and you show them three and ask them to cheer three instead of five. Once we are honest with ASU, I think we'll get a solution.
All right. On the Daily Independent newspaper, The caption talks about insecurity and the fact that the army is ready to engage services of retired personnel in tackling, the security challenges that we have. Do you think that this is very brilliant? I mean, if they're retired, shouldn't they be allowed, to rest? Is it that we don't have, persons who are very experienced or knowledgeable in the private and even in the military to tackle the security issues that we have? Is it really lack of, experience or expertise that's the issue here?
There are two types of retirement. There's age retirement, somebody has worked and is tired, and there's political retirement. Unfortunately, there's a lot of political retirement in the army. I have some of my very close friends, like I'll just give a name without Coco. If you see Coco, he looks like University of Uyo student, but he's retired. He's a general. He looks like University of Uyo. He's as fit as a fiddle, and he is just a representation of a lot of our young officers, young in parentheses. He's like me, I'm 58, in a year's time or thereabout, I'll be 60, and you tell me, Pew, get out, you are too old. Guy, put me on the track and see what I can do. There's a lot of retired people who are still as fit as a fiddle. So such people have a wealth of experience. They're not going to be trained anew. They have a lot of capacity within them, and a lot of them were retired because they took decisions that were nationalistic, but not in the interest of the gas as at that time. So if these people are brought back, it's not just going to be like, butter on bread. It's going to be a profiling. And those of them that are still fit, and certain tests will be done. And I can tell you that you find them in hundreds of thousands. Such people, I think it's a brilliant idea to put them either on standby or to bring them back as the need may arise.
All right. I want to say a very big thanks to you, Architect Ezekiel Nyaichuk, for your candid, honest, and very incisive analysis on the paper review this morning. And take it easy on the press. We're doing our best. All right, but
thank you rock.
Thank you very much for your time.
Like Oliver Twist.
Yes,
thanks to the
thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to the best for Nigeria.
Well, that's it. That's the size of our conversation, and Off the Press will return tomorrow with more insightful analysis. In the meantime, we'll step on the brakes. When we return, we'll head straight to our first major conversation. Stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
It's not just the parents that have to do this. We put a lot of emphasis on government, we put a lot of emphasis on schools, but the service sector is completely left out of this conversation, and it's really important because they touch the families every day.
When we are making intervention, at the back of our mind, that plan that you're drawing up should also say on X amount of times or hours, you as the parents have to have X number of training.
Not just about the training, okay? So as we're collecting data in the center, you're collecting data at home. We give you the exact same plan.
From my own experience is that the children are usually the best advocates.
Absolutely.
because the children have been informed and they have also experienced it, we find that they tend to go home and tell their parents the appropriate things to do.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you. So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Welcome back. Still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and now to our first major conversation. Senate President Ahmed Lawan says the National Assembly will further amend the Electoral Act 2022 to serve as a safeguard against weaknesses identified in the law. Mr. Lawan stated this following a matter of urgent national importance brought before the House by former Senate leader Yahya Abdullahi during plenary on Tuesday. Mr. Abdullahi, who is of the PDP Kebbi state, had urged or suggested that the Senate, quote, reverts to its earlier stance on direct primaries, end of quote. And the lawmaker had also asked fellow lawmakers of both the Senate and the House of Representatives to look out for the loopholes and the weaknesses in the 2022 Electoral Act and suspend subsequent legislation. Now, Mr. Abdullahi was reacting to the Supreme Court's decision to strike out a suit filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. The duo had challenged the controversial Section 84 of the Electoral Act, which provides that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of nomination of the candidates for any election. But the 7-justice bench of the Supreme Court, led by Justice Musa Datijo Muhammad, unanimously struck out the suit last week. The justices described it as an abuse of court processes. Now we have this morning joining us to help analyze the implications of this, Muhammad Abdullahi, who is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Abdullahi, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I mean, it's something Nigerians may have thought that they were overdone and dusted with, because, of course, the 2023 election is around the corner. What are your thoughts on this new statement coming from the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, on direct primaries and the entire 2022 Electoral Act?
Thank you. Good morning for having me. From the just concluded primaries, we see that there's a whole lot of defect in the newly passed electoral bill, because the majority of the parties, in fact, all of the parties use the indirect primaries and in some instances consensus to elect their flag bearers at the various levels. But what we see played out is the fact that these indirect primaries gave more opportunities to money bags in the parties, while sidelining some of the candidates who even the masses might do. For instance, a good example is in the PDP, allegedly, while Peter Obi was there for a very long time, he had to leave because they tagged him as a stingy one, someone who is not ready to dole out any cash in order to get the party's nod. So in this instance, there is a whole lot of rancor even within the political parties themselves, because if all of your activities is dependent on who is best to put down the highest pay, then most at times you might not get your best candidate forward. So I think it's a good development, but I think for me it's coming a little bit late, because this law that we're talking about has been passed into law. I mean, the bill has been passed into law, and it will require another process, another fresh process of amendment, which I don't see the current Senate, the current Ninth Assembly being able to fundamentally amend the bill. Probably the 10th Assembly after 2023 might then look into that. But I think it's a welcome development. But I think, again, in my opinion, I feel it should be open. I don't think it is right for the bill to state categorically that political parties must conduct their primaries via direct or indirect, that it should be open. Parties that are willing to adopt the direct primaries should be allowed, as well as parties that are willing to go the indirect primaries route should also be accommodated. So I think it should be, parties should be given choice to choose whichever route they feel is best for them.
Mohammed Abdullahi, apart from that, also that section of the Constitution, I beg your pardon, the Electoral Act, has been described as evil. I mean, some people say it as evil because it castrates the executive arm of government. The executive arm, especially those political appointees, from being part, of the electoral process. And in the long run, the consequences are also there if you have political parties not adhering to, that part of the Electoral Act. So it's been described as an evil that needs to be eradicated. So I'd like to share your thoughts on that. Do you really think that this is an evil that needs to be eradicated?
Yes, definitely. We always hide under the guise that when you give people their full rights, it tends to favor one party or the other. But irrespective of that, I think it doesn't matter. The proponent of that section are clamoring for the fact that if you allow the political appointees, for instance, the ministers, the special advisors, then the president and the governors, for instance, will have a larger say in who wins or who will not win the primaries. But again, that is also taking away their fundamental human rights as enshrined in the Constitution, that they have right to vote and right to be voted for. So, like you rightly mentioned, I agree to your description that that section is evil and is particularly taking away people's right to vote and be voted for. So it doesn't matter whether they are political appointees or not. That particular section is actually against the people's fundamental right as enshrined in the Constitution to vote and be voted for. Yeah.
Back to the issue of direct primaries. Of course, the senator representing KB State, was a member of the PDP, did say generally the Senate should consider amending the Electoral Act and to close the gaps, the loopholes seen or over the process of the party primaries so far and the electoral processes so far. You've said, well, Nigerians should not be forced to take one method of nominating or electing their candidates. But I mean, if we go back in history, we look at what happened, and I'm sorry, we've talked about this several times before, before January, when the Senate made a U-turn. But some have argued that, the best election in Nigeria's history was in 1992, when the option A4 was used, right? The process that led to the 1993 elections, let me call it that. And option A4, some people make a mistake to say it was an open ballot. It wasn't open balloting per se. It was about the method of nominating the candidates right from the local government level to the state level to the national level. And all those that participated in that election were candidates. Even the gentleman who was running mate to Abiola was a candidate. He came second in the national primary. And every single member of the party, from what we're told, participated in this process from the grassroots up until. So every state, you had to go to your state to win an election to come to. Should we consider, I mean, if it was such a successful election where the government said, this is the way we are going to allow Nigerians vote, and it came out successfully. I mean, government is there to think for the people, to say, okay, this is what we think should be done. If we have seen their mistakes, we've seen that there are some things that have gone wrong. We're talking about cash and carry politics. Should we not make changes to prevent cash and carry politics? Should we say, oh, no, we want people to be free to choose what they want to do? And then we see a continuation of cash and carry politics in the parties and at their primaries.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But we must get one thing, we must understand something, that the direct primaries, of nominating party candidates is actually very expensive. Because remember, it's almost like saying you are having a mini general election, because that's what it means. For instance, take a state like Kano, where you have more than almost 7 to 8 million registered voters, for instance. You have maybe for I'm just guessing now, for the APC, the ruling party, you have about 3 million registered APC members. So what you are saying, if you go by the direct primary method, it means every candidate, whether you are a local, from the chairman, for instance, or to the House of Assembly, to the Senate contestants, and so on, and even the presidency, it means you have to line up somewhere, and you have about 3 million, then your what's it called? Maybe your poster is placed somewhere, and then the 3 million registered members of APC from each of the 44 or so local governments in Kano State will now have to compete or say this is who we are wanting and we are voting for. So it's like a mini general election. That is more expensive for even the political parties to run. You understand? So it is a bit challenging, even though it is more grassroots driven. Yeah, it means for you to win the election, your people must know you. You must have gone there to tell them this is what you want to do here, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. But it is expensive, and it is very difficult at this time that we have our political parties, the way they are structured, to be able to conduct such primaries, particularly for the presidency. You know, maybe for state governorship and even the state House of Assemblies is possible, but it's very, very expensive and time consuming. If we employed a bit more of even electronic voting, innovations and technology, that might be a bit easier. But the way we run things manually, where people who have to line up supporting their particular candidate, that might be very, very expensive and challenging for political parties to run. That is one. But having said that, we should understand that it's actually the very best form, like I mentioned, because it means these candidates are grassroots driven, people know them, and they are aware of what they are capable of doing or not.
Well, so the next question for me would be, in whose interest is all of this, back and forth? I mean, the fact that there's a tendency that, the Senate might be considering the amendment of the Electoral Act and that part of the Electoral Act. In whose interest is all of this done? Is it for the interest of democracy, strengthening our electoral process, or?
It will be in Nigeria's interest.
Really?
Again,
is it really in Nigeria's interest, or it's in?
That we have options. Yes. It's. I'm still. My line of thought is, if you have a process that encourages the participation of more Nigerians, definitely it's in the interest of Nigerians. For instance, so many people do not even know their candidates, and they just appoint or select a particular delegate that have actually been paid to go to the to the National Convention to select delegates on their own behalf. So if you have direct primaries, for instance, it is in the interest of Nigeria, because I, as a person, will be participating fully in the selection process of the candidate that will represent me in the general election. But that is one. You understand? But again, like I mentioned earlier, it won't also be in Nigeria's interest that we have just the policy or the bill that will be amended, saying Nigerians must elect their candidates, via primaries, via the direct method. That's not democracy. Democracy gives you choices. You understand? That's why I said it will be in Nigeria's interest, one way or the other. But it is also best that in the interest of democracy and the people and the country at large, that we have at least options. Like there are smaller parties, for instance, regional parties that do not have the wherewithal of the big parties. How do you expect them to conduct a direct primary? You understand? So it is easier that we have options, and political parties are left with the option to choose which is best for them.
All right. So this is you coming up with a solution to. You've saying, of course, let the aspirants they be free. The parties are free to choose whichever method they'd like to adopt. But looking at the loopholes, we've seen loopholes in the 2022 Electoral Act. The methods being prescribed in that act. We're seeing some mistakes, some things that have been observed in the party primaries. How exactly can this issue of cash and carry politics be done with in Nigerian politics? The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has tried. You saw during some primaries they were there searching some Ghana must go bags or sack bags, as it were. Nothing came out of it. So what can we do? You know what's been happening with the senatorial, elections or primaries of the parties, and the use of placeholders. What happened with Lawan and Machina? What happened in Ebonyi State with Umahi? What happened in Akwa Ibom State with Godswill Akpabio, and of course Mikey Guinea, the rec there, putting his foot down. So these are some of the things we're seeing. People never stood for elections, were not there, and then the party substitutes the names and put some other person there, and then we have consensus and all that. How can we correct this if you're saying we should not give the parties one method to follow?
Okay. The thing is, the simple answer is we must demonetize our electioneering process. The whole process of electioneering in Nigeria is very much monetized. From whatsoever level, from the minimum to the highest level is so monetized. And the reason is that the system generally is not one system that is susceptible to accountability. Because, for instance, even let's look at the presidency, for instance. The entire salary, aside allowances for Nigerian president as enshrined in the Constitution, is about 60 million or less for 4 years. So, what is the parameters? If you are going to earn 60 million or so for 4 years of salary, and you have spent more than $1 billion campaigning and paying people to nominate you as a flag bearer of a political party. What does that mean? It tells you that when you get there, definitely this is a business. It's a cash and carry business. You first of all have to see how you recoup your investment. Now that's why I mentioned that our system is not susceptible to accountability. You understand? So that is the thing. We must make sure there's accountability at all levels. That is very, very important. And people must do their job. You mentioned ICPC and EFCC, for instance. We had in this country just recently where we have allegedly some delegates paid about 13 million. They even went back to their constituencies to display this one. We see from being a delegate in one of the political parties' national convention. So what did the EFCC and the ICPC do? They were on ground at that event. What did they do? So it's important that we not just only have policies or laws. It is more important that it is implemented. People were so irrespective of their caliber, irrespective of their cadre in the society, are made to face the law, and justice is upheld. It's very, very important, and that's what we've been lacking. So for us to get out of this quagmire, I will always advise that we allow accountability in our system.
But Mohammed Abdullahi, sorry to interrupt you. You're saying we should allow accountability. They won't allow accountability. That's not what they're there for. If they allow accountability, they're going to lose out. As long as the system allows them to do this, they will do it. You can't pin it on them. You won't catch them giving money to delegates. There's no way EFCC is going to trace them.
You should demand for accountability.
No, but we've been demanding for it, and they don't care. As long as they can get away with it, they'll do it.
You must continue demanding.
And that's why all of this conversation, you have also said that this is, for the interest of Nigerians. It doesn't look like it's the interest of Nigerians, because interest would always, be the issue. I mean, where we are today, it's been said that we're where we are today as a country because we've had personal interest dominating national interest. But let's still stay with it now. Talking about that very section, just like Kofi had mentioned, that maybe up until this time, one would think that we have gotten over all of this and we're thinking about the elections in 2023. But here we are, talking about that section of the Electoral Act 84 and 12. But the consequences of infraction of that section is set out in the following subsection, and that's in section 84 13, which says that a political party fails to comply with the provision of this act in the conduct of its primaries, its candidate for the election shall not be included in the election for the particular position in the issue. I mean, some persons are saying that this might just be the reason why this part of that constitution. I mean, you're looking at A, but you forget that there's a B there that could truncate the A. So what do you make of this now?
Yes, if I may ask you, what did the electoral bill say? Is it compelling that the political?
So we're looking at 84.
That's what it's saying.
We're looking at 84:12. There's no political appointee at any level. I mean, that's it basically, and all of the lacunas that the lawmakers are talking about. So we're saying that with all of this, direct primaries, not allowing political appointees to be part of it, and what have you, there's also another section of it, which is 84, but 13 of it, that talks about the infraction.
Yes, we discussed this earlier. There's no way, because you are looking at the fact that they are political appointees and they were appointed or appointed by a sitting president or a sitting governor and so on, then you want to deny them of their political right to vote and be voted.
But we can. But Mohammed Abdullahi, we cannot also ignore the fact that we understand where this is coming from. I mean, that particular, in the process of formulating the act and coming up with this particular part of it, it's because of what happens, the dynamics that happens, where you have, the issue of godfatherism, where you have these governors becoming very prominent and dominating and deciding who becomes a delegate and influencing, the politics at the political level. So, I mean, would you be saying that this is a wrong? Are you saying two wrongs? Are you saying that this is a wrong?
Two wrongs cannot be right. Two wrongs cannot be right. If two wrongs cannot be right, that's what we must understand. Yes, for them, you are already preempting. We are just preempting that because they are political appointees, then their vote will sway to a particular place. It's not always like that. It's very possible that you are not happy with your boss, even as a worker on PlusTvAfrica. So it's very possible. So it is, for instance, even take the instance of the sitting vice president. For God's sake, he went around 36 states in Nigeria and even the Federal Capital Territory, and people were almost assuring him that there will be a revolution. But when he was not even second, he was third, in the rankings when the primaries were held. So politics, we can't just preempt. You understand? I see it as wrong that because people are political appointees, then you want to deny them their right to vote and be voted for. That is one. But like I said earlier, again, if you look at the direct primaries, it is best in Nigeria's interest because the local man will have a say in who is nominated as his party's candidate even before the general election. So that is to Nigeria's interest.
All right. What about the observations, by this lawmaker from Kebbi State? I want to say some of the things. Just quote him a little bit. He said, "Our recent nasty experience of the misuse of the consensus and delegate system has vindicated our earlier position on the merits of direct primaries." Let's look at what he calls the misuse of the consensus system. How do you suggest, since you're saying that the law should not recommend one way for the parties to behave, how do you recommend the abuse that he, as he put it, or the misuse of the consensus system be solved, since it's identified as a loophole, a gap, a weakness in the Electoral Act?
Yes, you see, it's a weakness because the Electoral Act as it is now seems to just, compel parties for either the indirect method or the consensus method. You understand? Hello?
Yes. So how would you suggest it be solved?
So that's why I'm suggesting that we at least give, options to political parties. We've discussed the direct method and the indirect method. The direct method gives the local man in each of our 770 for local government the opportunity to choose, his party's flag bearers, but at a more expensive cost to the party. You understand? So if it's possible that the parties are able to hold this, and even if it's not a win-win even for the politicians, they know the delegate system even pays them more because they are able to bribe few people that are delegates. But if you have the direct system, as we discussed earlier, they are at risk of either winning or losing because you can't pay off everybody. You understand? So it's an advantage for democracy, it's an advantage for Nigeria and the voting populace if we can adopt the direct method, even though it is much more expensive. That's my own point. It is very expensive for us because it's like we are conducting a mini elections all over again.
But I mean, it seems you're making a U-turn on what you earlier said to probably support and have some good things to say about it, because you seem to be against it. I'm not saying you should be in support of it, but I'm saying since you are saying that we should allow. So I'm saying, how can we?
I'm not against direct primaries.
All right. So are you saying that you think the Senate should amend the Electoral Act so that these weaknesses can be blocked or can be solved, or are you saying because if the consensus option is there, it will be abused? Mohammed Abdullahi, it will be abused. They're abusing it. These guys are abusing the consensus. So why give them that option that, we can sit around the table, all right? And I mean, INEC right now, in the next few weeks, will be inundated with litigation. Where's the money for INEC to pay lawyers and the time for INEC to go to court to start addressing, useless cases, that we could have prevented? They're going to start going to court very soon. Watch out. They're all going to go to court. And these things, maybe some would argue, could be prevented if you say, do this.
I never mentioned consensus. In fact, consensus is not part of democracy. When you say consensus, you are not giving people the opportunity to choose. So it's never part of democracy. It's not a form of democracy at all. What I said, and I stand upon, is that there should be options. And the options I'm talking about is either direct or indirect. Because in my own opinion as well, if you compel parties to go with direct only, you have also not, you have limited the possibility of democracy. You understand? Likewise, if you say parties as it is now should also use the indirect method. So there should be options. Parties that are able to use the direct method should do that. And those ones who feel they can still use the indirect, not consensus, please, indirect method should also hold on to that.
Well, that's so much we can take. I mean, it's a conversation that would continue as we progress in the course of the week and, as we inch closer to 2023. Let's see how all of this unfolds. Thank you so much, Abdullahi Mohammed, for being part of the breakfast.
Thank you very much.
One of the perceived weaknesses or one of the controversial aspects of this mercy of Electoral Act would be Section 33 and the interpretation of Section 33, I think also 34 as well. And the use of placeholders. I was hoping Abdullah would help us talk about that. But it's interesting to see because the section never mentioned, people who were not elected in primary. And all parties who are using placeholder running mates, time will tell if they were right or wrong. It may turn out that they will not be able to change them. So this is some of the things that, I think the National Assembly can also discuss. Placeholder in this. Placeholder has become a thing. We need to talk about it. But we'll have some opportunities to discuss this. And of course, let's quickly remind you that you can follow us on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, etc. PlusTvAfrica. On YouTube, we are at PlusTvAfrica for our live streams. You can watch those at PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle from all of us here. That's the size of our package. My name is Kofi Bertels. Thanks for joining us.
I am Messi Boko. The news comes your way at 9 o'clock. Please stay with us.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games, Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Tsadar rayuwa ta fara ƙure haƙurin wasu 'yan Najeriya, musamman ma yadda farashin kayan masarufi ke hawa-hawa, kasancewar
Young MD, another kept it by my side. Nigeria. A Najeriya ƙasa muna da arziki mu da zamu ji daɗi amma mu ne muke jinjiri mu ne muke jinjiri ba ƙaramin yaro babba har ma ɗan jinjiri ya kamata ku duba babatin uba mutane da yawa mun yi lafi sai mun tuba babatin addini ko ya shiri ya kini in gaskiya ta zo a faɗa ko da za a kini Nigeria we supposed to be a first na us the last ba a batin relax ya kamata fa mu canza babatin mu gazza kar wani ya zo yana mana fama kallon banza kidnapper sun bi sun dame mu ba mu kananan yara ba ma har da iyayenmu yunwa ya zami da kanmu gwamnati ya kamata fa ku duba lamarinmu na text message young MD I'm said daga nan jani ga kasan mafara a kaidin all my people I want you to read in this special message I send him sai mu haɗa kanmu Yoruba Igbo har da ma Hausawanmu sai mu kauda cin hanci fa ma gabanmu Najeriya uwa kusan ita ce ƙasanmu fyaɗe babatun kuɗaɗe muna gudu mu kwana daji babakin gidaje fyaɗe babatun kuɗaɗe muna gudu mu kwana daji babakin gidaje Najeriya shaye-shaye bai da kyau shike damu mu a ƙasanmu ma dai ma fa a yau we need good community we need good education haka yake we need good purity we need good security we need good sociality we need good leaders Nigeria gwamnati ya kamata mafa ku duba Young MD aga Nigeria
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 and they pay.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, right? No question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Good morning, I am Khadijat Balogun, and this is the news brief.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Sahad Abubakar, has declared July the 9th as Eid al-Adha, also known as Salah. Eid al-Adha will feature the slaughtering of ram during the period known as the Festival of Sacrifice, this being the second significant celebration in Islam. In a statement issued by the National Moon Sighting Committee, the Sultan urged Muslims to intensify prayers during the period. The federal government, through the Nigerian High Commission to the United Kingdom, has hired lawyers to defend the former Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife Beatrice over allegations of organ harvesting. The Senate President, Hamad Lawan, who disclosed this after a closed-door session of the chamber on Wednesday, added that a delegation of the chamber would, on or before Friday this week, visit Ekweremadu and his wife in London. Ekweremadu and his wife were last week arrested and arraigned at Oxbridge Magistrate Court in London. The Senate is sending a delegation to the United Kingdom on a solidarity visit to the embattled former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife. The Senate President made the announcement at plenary after a closed-door session. The Senate President made this announcement. He said the lawmakers who are drawn from the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs are expected to be in the United Kingdom on Friday. Lawan also commended the British High Commission for the way the alleged organ harvesting suit is being handled.
There will be a delegation to London to see the distinguished Senator Ike Ekweremadu and his wife. A delegation from the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs of the Senate will leave in the next 2 days to London for that purpose. I want to urge all federal government institutions that can do anything to ensure that justice prevails in this case, that they do so, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is very, very critical and important that the government institutions provide those services that are required.
Ekweremadu and his wife were arrested by the London Metropolitan Police on Thursday for conspiring to bring a child to the United Kingdom for organ harvesting. The duo pleaded not guilty to the charges in Oxbridge Magistrate Court, adjourning the case to the 7th of July. Now, the Senate has screened and confirmed the 7 ministerial nominees whose names were sent last week by President Muhammadu Buhari for confirmation as minister-designates. The screening exercise started about 12 noon and lasted till 4:37 p.m. Those screened and confirmed as minister-designates include Henry Ikechukwu Iko of Abia State, Umana Okon Umana of Akwa Ibom, and Ekuman Nkama Joseph Nkama, Ebonyi State. Others are Goodluck Nana Opia Imo, Umar Ibrahim El Yakub of Kano State, Ademola Adewale Adegoroye of Ondo State, and Udi Odom of Rivers State. While feeding questions from lawmakers, the first nominee, Ikechukwu Iko, said in tackling the issue of job creation, efforts must be made to grant operational licenses to operators of modular refineries in the country.
Most of the multinational companies in Nigeria always come and take our crude oil and go. I will advise the federal government to ensure that they establish refinery in the local community where they exploit all this crude oil. If they do that and begin to introduce modular refineries in those various communities, particularly Niger Delta community, the issue of employment will be checked.
Because when you produce for exports, you earn foreign exchange. You produce for the home markets, you reduce imports. So either way, you save foreign exchange and boost foreign exchange. So we have to look at whatever is inhibiting production. We should address that. But I think the key is production.
My advice would be that government and ASU will have to come to a compromise. And through this, we'll be able to solve this issue of ASU strike once and for all. And I want to also appeal. Yes, I know the importance of budgetary provision. So I want to appeal to the Senate that when the budget is being made for the coming year, that there will be adequate provision for education sector so that some of these needs that the ASU members are asking for, ASU Union, will be able to be met.
Let me first and foremost thank very distinguished senators and Mr. President and Deputy President for this enormous show of solidarity so far. It is amazing to me that this level of conviviality exists between our two chambers, the green and the red. And that is what I'm experiencing right now, practically speaking. So thank you so much.
Will the Senate approve the confirmation of Henry Ikechukwu as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mr. Henry Ikechukwu Iko is hereby confirmed as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Umana Okon Umana as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Umana Okon Umana is hereby confirmed as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Now, the House of Representatives has constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate the petroleum product subsidy regime between 2017 and 2021 by the NNPC. This followed the adoption of a motion by Representative Sagers Ogun on the floor of the House on Wednesday in Abuja. In his motion, Ogun said he was informed that as of 2002, the NNPC purchased crude oil at international market prices, which stood at 445,000 barrels per day. He added that it was to enable it provide petroleum products for local consumption, saying he was concerned that as of 2002, the installed capacity of Nigeria's local refineries stood at 445,000 barrels per day. Now, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, has denounced the presidential flag bearer of the PDP for the 2023 general elections, Atiku Abubakar. Fayose insisted that it is the turn of the South to produce the next president after the expiration of 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari in office, in the spirit of equity, fairness, and justice. He disclosed this in a statement via his verified Twitter handle. He argued that Section 3, subsection C of the PDP Constitution provides for a rotational presidency. Fayose, who didn't mention the party and candidate who would be supporting in the 2023 general elections from the South, urged the Nigerians to await the details soonest. Now, a Supreme Court Judge Justice Ellen Ogunwumiji has lamented that every aspect of the society is deep in corruption. She spoke in Ondo City at the maiden edition of the Law Week of the Nigerian Bar Association, Ondo Branch. According to her, Nigeria is facing serious security threats because of no proper investigation of crimes, low rate of conviction, feeling of impunity by criminals, and weak criminal justice system. She added that terrorism can be tackled through external support from countries like India. Femi Falana urged judges to be courageous in the discharge of their duties. He also charged them to tackle excesses of lawyers and government officials. Governor Akeredolu re-echoed the need for the creation of state police.
Terrorism is the principal threat to global and national security in the post-September 11 world. Facing terrorist threats at home and abroad, most countries have declared counter-terrorism is top priority. As Nigeria embarks on any attempt at counter-terrorism campaign, it must draw on the experience of other countries.
Only a few judges have the confidence and the courage to call senior advocates to order. Our colleagues get to court
and they give the impression that they control the courts and our judges. And unless we begin to call everybody to order and call everybody by their father's name, we're not going to get out of the crisis.
Ondo State government, therefore, use the occasion of this law week to call once again for creation of state police. That is the way to go.
Now in Lagos State, the governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has opened the newly built containerized modular classroom block in Vetland Junior Grammar School at Agege. He described the digitalized modular school as the future of public schools in Lagos, Nigeria, and Africa in general. Plus TV News correspondent Love Ikukoye-Dokun tells us more in this report.
This is a Vetland Junior Grammar School in Agege. The school was carved out of the existing Vetland Grammar School and officially took off on 6 January 2003. The formal commissioning brought so much excitement to the students, parents and teachers as Governor Sanwo-Olu made his way through the crowd. The governor in his keynote address told the gathering that his goal was to build schools of the future, public schools that are driven by cutting-edge technology. He described the modular school as a milestone on the journey towards ensuring that no child is left behind in Lagos State.
This is the future of public school in Lagos. This is the future of public school in Nigeria. We believe this will be the future of public school in Africa. In terms of some numbers, our administration so far, we've constructed over 800 new classroom blocks in public school system, while we're completing rehabilitation of about 200 primary schools and secondary schools, all within the next couple of weeks. We've also added about 180,000 units of furniture that have been supplied across all the 6 educational districts in the state.
Commissioner for Education Folashade Adefisayo thanked Sanwo-Olu for keeping his promise of increasing the ministry's yearly budgetary allocation. She described the Vetland modular building as one for ages.
This building is unique, but it's unique again because for me as an educationist, I love nice buildings. I want the children to be in nice buildings. But for me, it's always about the teaching and learning. What is going on inside the school? And in this school, in each classroom, we have a smart whiteboard. We have tablets for the children. The teachers clock in using biometrics. And what this is going to do is that we are moving our children into the 21st century.
Chairman of the Special Committee of Rehabilitation of Public Schools, Hakeem Smith, noted that a new intermodal containerized building would encourage hybrid learning. He said pupils can learn remotely because of the type of technology deployed in the school.
In 10 years from now, the kids from Vetland are the ones who will digitize your civil service. It will be native to them. It will be native to them. It will be what they are used to doing from day one already. They would be the corporate leaders tomorrow who are going to be solving with critical thinking skills that they would learn in this classroom, solving problems for Lagos State. They would be the inventors in 2 years from now, from the technology they have here.
When you bring traditional learning into modern day technology, you have them at your fingertips. They are interested, they come alive. And then this solution, this technology sitting in this classroom allows them to interact with the teacher. There's room for critical thinking. There's room for creativity. So it's not just the teacher talking and writing. Now they are actively involved. You can see that all of the pupils have a PC. Everything going on the screen is replicated on their PC. So they get to interact and collaborate.
The containerized modular school building comprises 9 regular classrooms, 3 laboratories, and 4 staff rooms, all solar-powered. From Lagos, Love Ikukoye-Dokun, PlusTV News.
Drug abuse among the teeming Nigerian youth has generated heated debate in recent times, attracting interest from groups, organizations, individuals, and government alike. To curb this growing menace, the Nigerian Youth Parliament in the Lagos Senatorial District has organized an inter-school debate among secondary schools in the zone. Oyime Afia tells us more.
The increasing rate of drug abuse in the society leaves much to be desired.
though it is not limited to any age. It has become worrisome how the youth have been caught up in this menace in recent times. 36 schools from different parts of Lagos have converged on this venue to debate on these topical issues. For the organizers, sensitization on drug abuse has been ongoing across the country. They speak on how deep it has eaten into the fabrics of the society.
It's organized for students to interact with one another. It goes beyond we just having a speech, bringing someone to teach them. Now we want them to tell themselves in the language they understand. So in this way, they become ambassadors of anti-drug abuse.
The issue of drug abuse is alarming and is a priority for us under our Speaker, Right Honorable Dr. Azizat Ishao. And we've taken this issue hands-on, and we have produced a policy document which will be made open to the public very soon, called the Nigerian Youth Parliament Drug and Substance Abuse Control Policy Brief 2022. What we are doing here today is part of the recommendations from the policy document, which says that we should engage in cognitive behavioral education, under which we have peer-to-peer education.
We have actually been spreading our campaign against drug abuse. Just this week alone, we mapped out, the whole of the week, to commemorate the UN Day against drug abuse, which was actually on the 26th, sorry. Yesterday, Lagos State Command of NDLA had the grand finale, and all of these efforts are geared towards dissuading the public, dissuading the populace, the citizens, from taking drug.
The topic of discussion focuses on the influence of drug abuse among Nigerian youths. The debate starts with students of Queen's College, Yaba, and the Girls Senior Grammar School, Obalende. It was followed by other schools with the students speaking dispassionately.
We have known for decades that addiction is a medical condition, not an incurable brain disorder, not a medical flaw, not a character flaw, or a form of social defiance. Yet, with the overwhelming evidence supporting this position, drug use continues to be criminalized.
I strongly oppose the motion with the following points. Management of available resources. Instead of wasting the available resources on the well-being of the drug abusers, why not use it on enlightenment programs that will stop the masses from going into the action? Prevention, they say, is better than cure. The money spent on these drug abusers can be used for the development of the educational sector.
We had a chat with some of the students who shared their views on the menace of drug abuse to the society.
Drug abuse is also one of the activities that is being carried out. If you look around, our students no longer go to school. They go to school to take drugs. They go to even in classes that are taking drugs.
Our economy today is not really helping the poor people. It's like most poor people are getting poorer and the middle class are also getting poorer. So if you're blaming poverty for the cause of drug abuse, that means that drug abuse is really, really increasing.
With the alarming rate of drug abuse among young people, perhaps debates such as this will go a long way in nipping the issues in the bud. Uyime Afia, Plus TV News.
And now in entertainment news, R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years in prison following the multi-platinum R&B singer's conviction for exploiting his stardom and wealth over decades to lure women and underage girls into his orbit for sex. The sentence was imposed 9 months after Kelly, who's 55, was convicted of racketeering and sex crimes in a trial that amplified accusations that had dogged the singer of the Grammy-winning hit I Believe I Can Fly for 2 decades. Kelly, whose name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, is among the most prominent people convicted of sexual misbehavior during the Me Too movement against such conduct by prominent men. And now in sport news, Andy Murray has said that his second-round exit from Wimbledon definitely hurts, but said the loss wouldn't change his plans for the future. Murray lost to hard-serving American John Isner in the late match on center court. The Brit has in the past said he wants to play in order to progress into the later stages of the majors. Asked if he still felt it was feasible, Murray said the loss against Isner would not change that ambition. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Khadijat Balogun. Many thanks for watching.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria with 351,861 hectares of land, is the authentic home of every tribe and tongue in Nigeria. The state, though small in landmass, is controversially the most populous state in the country. One of the neighborhoods in the state is Obalende, located in a Tiosa local government area. The area is strategically a historic site because before the relocation of administrative capital from Lagos to Abuja, it was the seat of power of the military head of state, the Dodon Barrack. Historically, a Royal West African Frontier Force, predominantly Hausa men, were initially camped on the land where the famous King's College is situated. Then there was a need for the use of the land, and the Oba of Lagos was said to have pressured the governor of Lagos to resettle the Hausa men and sold the land in what is now Obalende to the British colonial masters. After resettlement in the purchased land, the Royal West Africa Frontier Force men named the place Ibiti Obalewade, which translates to the place where the king drove us to. Obalende, though crowded, is famous for its nightlife and for its suya sport, with a junction popularly called Suya Junction. For ease of administration, former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, created additional 37 local council development areas from the existing 20 local council areas. So the current Obalende is carved out under Ikoyi Obalende Local Council Development Area. Ikorodu town is another historic location in Lagos, located in the northeast area of the state along the Lagos Lagoon and shares a boundary with Ogun State. Currently, the town houses Ikorodu local government area and 5 local council development areas. Kabiru Shotobi is the king of Ikorodu, traditionally known as Ayogbunre of Ikorodu, who ascended the throne from October 24, 2015. The name Ikorodu came about from people whose ancestors descended from the Remo stock of Yoruba tribe who came to settle on a plateau and named it Ikorodu, a shortened word from Oko Odu, which literally means Odu, farm. The current metro area population of Ikorodu in 2021 is 989,000, a 5.44% increase from 2020. Trading, farming, and manufacturing are some of the things Ikorodu is known for. Ikeja is the capital of Lagos State, formerly called Akeja. It was named after a deity of the Awori people of Ota, who originally settled there. The area was invaded for slaves until the mid-19th century. Ikeja, an abbreviation meaning of Ikorodu and Ekpe joint administration, was coined by colonial administrators for ease of administration. It is the official seat of the governor of the state, where the state secretariat is also located. It is also where the domestic and international airports are located. Its population as of 2006 census is 330,196. Ikeja is home to one of West Africa's largest gadgets markets, popularly known as Computer Village, and home to a shopping mall known as Ikeja City Mall, which is the biggest mall in Lagos mainland and also has a cinema.
These are some interesting places that make Lagos a world-class destination.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Hey, Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa, welcome on the show. My name is Wale Scott. It's a rainy day, really. Now, table tennis players expected to represent Nigeria at the forthcoming Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games will resume camp in Lagos next week. The games hold from July 28th to August 8th. The team will comprise 8 athletes. It was also learned that the players' current rankings and form will be used as criteria for player selections for the games. Now, top stars like Aruna Kadri, Edem Offiong, and Fatima Bello are among the players expected to make the team, barring any last-minute hitch. An official of the Nigerian Table Tennis Federation has said the plans were in top gear to ensure Nigerian representatives excelled at the Commonwealth Games. Meanwhile, Nigeria's top-ranked women's table tennis star, Fatima Bello, remains upbeat about her chances of winning a medal at the Commonwealth Games. Now, on the show today, I've got Lagos representative in Swan in table tennis. His name is Mudashiru Shitu. He's joining us via Zoom on the show today. Mudashiru, welcome on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wale Scott. It's good to be here. As always, thank you very much. And for those listening, thank you.
Now, most Nigerians, most sports journalists are tired of the usual suspects. We're going to Birmingham, the Commonwealth Games, and we have the regular names, Haruna Kadri, Fatima Bello. Why are we not grooming new talents in these sports?
Yeah, first of all, the Nigerians and Lagosians should not be tired of some certain names. You shouldn't be tired of the first person that got to the quarterfinal of the Olympics, Aruna Kadri, our first African. You shouldn't be tired of the first African that got to the first top 10 in the world. So if you are tired of hearing Aruna Kadri, that means you are not doing the country a favor. Aruna started from the progression rate. That means he started like any other player and he got to where he is. Fatima Bello, you should not, it's a new name among, she has done so well in the last competition in Lagos, where there was 3 competitions that took place. She is now among the first 4 players in Africa. That's Fatima Bello. And Edem Effiong have proven that over time, you understand that she can do so well. Let's not forget that Inka Shinake's name is not mentioned. And it's only when you have such a name that you think, oh, all over and again. We've seen that Fatima Bello has come up to that billing of somebody that can do so well. So these are the top 5 players in Africa. Edem Effiong is among them. Fatima Bello is among them. Aruna is number 1 in the country. And we also have other players that probably be in the mix. That's about Matt Taiwo, as Sri Lanka, the rest. So for me, it's a good one. And let's not forget that Nigeria won the first ever gold medal in Commonwealth Games. The first table tennis competition that happened in the Commonwealth Games was, I think, Glasgow some years ago, where the veteran himself, Tobiola, won the gold medal. So it's a reign we know of. So Nigeria is going to do us well. Let's also don't forget that in the last Commonwealth Games, when the whole contingent to Nigeria was looking for a medal, the first day no medal, second day no medal, it has to take table tennis to give us the first medal the last Commonwealth Games. So I think we should take our best to the trials and also to the Commonwealth Games.
Now, Muda, you are a table tennis expert. I'm not. You know, what are our chances at the Commonwealth Games? Do we have any chance, really?
Yeah, we do. We do have so much, many chances. What I mean that is because Commonwealth Games is among those colony of the British colony. So it is not a larger, it's not the Olympics, it is not the World Championship. It's just, and we have good records when it comes to table tennis at the Commonwealth Games. So to me, I feel that we can do so well because of our ranking. The only opposition we probably have in the Commonwealth Games in Africa, which is always our opposition, is the Indians are there, Singapore, England is also there. But Nigerian also, we can also do so well. But nevertheless, we will still come out with too many medals. In the team event of the last Commonwealth Games, Nigeria won the silver medal. We have Bode Abiodun, Okoji, Aziz Jami, Olajide Omotayo, and Shegun Toyola. The Commonwealth Games men's singles was between Gao Ning of Singapore and Aruna Okoji. Aruna Okoji came second in that. Let's always forget that Nigeria is a big house when it comes to Commonwealth Games. So the best we do also is to keep up with the consistency. We have top opposition in India, we have in Singapore, and also in England, and not forgetting our arch rivalry here in Africa. Oh, Egypt is not part of that. Egypt is not part of the colonial for Commonwealth Games, but we have India, we have Singapore, and we have England. So it's a good one. Our ranking in the last Commonwealth Games in Australia, we placed 5th out of the possible 7 nations. So with just 3 silver alone, no gold, no bronze. So I think it's a good one. We'll improve on that based on the fact that Aruna Okoji has done so well for himself. Fatima Bello doing so well in Africa. Edem Effiong also doing so well in Africa. So to me, getting to the men's singles event in the last Commonwealth Games where Aruna Okoji won the silver and is now the best in Africa, among the world number 10. So to me, there's a good awaiting us and also in the team events.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today, Mudashiru Shitu. And we hopefully we will be there together in Birmingham during the games.
Thank you very much, Wallace Scott. And don't tell yourself you're not an expert in table tennis. You're not an expert in table tennis because if you have a friend that is an expert in table tennis, you're also an expert because you are my senior colleague in this job. So people like you, we worked under you. So don't tell yourself you're not an expert. If you have me, then you're an expert in table tennis.
Thank you very much, Mudashiru Shitu. Thank you. Now, home favorites Emma Raducanu and Andy Murray were among the Grand Slam champions who made swift exits from Wimbledon yesterday, a day after a total of 10 Britons moved into the second round of their home slam. 10th seed Raducanu was beaten 6-3, 6-3 by Caroline Garcia, ending the reigning U.S. Open champions run and underlining why the French woman was a former top 5 player herself.
Bit of a rain delay and a delayed start, but we've got players and we have got second round action here on day 3 of Wimbledon 2022.
All set fair this afternoon. The forecast is good. We look forward to uninterrupted play on what should be a terrific afternoon. And the roof is open.
Superb.
A consummate performance from the world's best player. 6 times a champion, looking very much the favourite for a 7th here.
I think from my side, overall, really high quality performance, and I'm very pleased. Love you too. Thank you so much.
Brilliant! Jules Niemeyer knocks out the second seed. And what a reception then for the world number 11, the British number 1, Emma Raducanu. Oh, it's too good! There'll be no Wimbledon fairy tale for Emma Raducanu this fortnight. But it's Caroline Garcia who'll go through to the 3rd round.
I really enjoyed to play here on center court. It was my first time and it was very special.
a roar of celebration and relief at coming through this test.
Battled as hard as I could. I wasn't playing my best, and it was a tricky match. And what an unbelievable atmosphere there. Thank you to everyone for coming out. So cool, so great.
Finally, it is the break, the set, and the match. And Maria Sakkari into the third round of Wimbledon for just the third time in her career.
That was a tennis masterclass by John Isner.
To play as well as I did against one of our greatest players ever, Andy Murray, was a huge accomplishment for me. He's a massive inspiration to each one of us in the locker room, and we're so lucky to still have him around.
Undoubtedly the biggest tennis championship competition in the world, the Wimbledon. And we have 10 Britons already, home challengers, who are already into the second round. Okay, but of course Raducanu, the star girl, couldn't make it happen. Andy Murray, I've always called him a fluke, if you ask me. My opinion though. Now our very own Anthony Joshua lost his fight against Anthony Usyk. Now, he's the challenger now. He said yesterday he is desperate to win the heavyweight titles back off Alexander Usyk when they face off in a rematch in August. The pair stayed at each other face to face at a London news conference ahead of the Rage on the Red Sea clash in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on August 20th. Usyk beat Joshua in front of a sellout crowd at London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last September to take the WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO belts. Joshua also lost the belts to Andy Ruiz Jr. in 2019 before regaining them later that year in Saudi Arabia. Usyk, wearing the blue and yellow colors of freedom top, said he was fighting to save his soul. Usyk is 19-0 with 30 knockout victories, while Joshua is 24-2 with 22 knockout